I'm an advocate for people starting up businesses. I'd rather have people businesses than, than work for somebody, suffer like
Mm.
me. I'm just kidding.
Squeegee Podcast Season 2. This podcast is sponsored by Blind Maggot, Magna Colours, Screenprint World, Target Transfers, and Adobe Creative Suite.
My name is Nimrod Tibile, last name. And the shop is called Rocksteady Design and Print. Uh, I try to leverage the fact that I am a graphic designer to begin with, because I do offer the design services in-house. I don't have, I don't outsource all that stuff. I like the fact that I do the designs as well. It gives it a personal touch.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And then I've noticed that a lot of your customer base are around the music industry. Like, can you tell me
Yes.
how do you go about like getting more customers in that base, or do they just know you through your music? Or
Um, yeah, it's actually a kind of like I guess just chance, and I didn't really know what I was doing. I've had I was running a business. I was running the same business before, but like, um, I kind of just wanted to create an account that kind of catered to the scene, to
yeah,
and so like I started making an Instagram account, and like literally changed a lot of the things that I was featuring, and then like one thing led to another when I've got an account with a record store.
oh really cool.
Yeah, and so like when I started working with them, like it just became like somebody knew that person and then this person
Yeah,
knew that person, because the scene is kind of small here, well, not that small, but like just yeah, just a specific scene is just everybody knows everybody, so
yeah, like a clique. Now you're Nimrod, the music screen printer
yeah,
musician.
yeah,
But
basically.
do you got guitars behind you? Do you play guitar and stuff in a band, or like
Oh no, 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 I'm not in a
no?
band. I I grew up playing music and singing and all that stuff. I just kind of have done it like, you know, a hobby. So I just kind of kept up with just still knowing.
Yeah,
I never I never got good. I'm not like I don't do any like guitar solos or anything like that. But
yeah. But you could probably like hold your own on an open mic night, maybe.
I don't know. I don't even know if it's like that. It's like
Oh,
maybe a notch lower.
yeah.
Or
I don't know what's lower than karaoke, but no, that's just no for a musician. It's probably a bit even
oh
lower
no, I
than
love
a.
karaoke.
Okay, there you go. You're the
I'm
karaoke dude.
Filipino.
Yeah,
Filipinos, you can't separate karaoke and Filipinos. Come on.
yeah. I've never been to the Philippines, but I've been to that kind of side of the world, and the karaoke. If you've got a British accent and you can read all of the karaoke really well, to like the
Uh-huh.
rap songs and stuff, they go mad. And they're like, "Wow, you're really good!" And I'm like, a horrible singer, but I do know all the words. So they're
Yeah, yeah,
like, "Oh, yeah, it's really really fun." So how did you get into screen printing? Because you said you kind of rebranded your first business to be more like music centric, but how did you pick up a squeegee for the first time?
yeah. I think it started when I was like 7 or 8, actually.
Wow,
Uh,
that's
I
cool.
got introduced to, well, I first got introduced to it through, it's kind of because I grew up in a church environment. And so
Yeah,
like they had kind of a like a churchy version of like Boy Scouts.
yeah,
And
okay,
like they had like, of course they also have like the like activities and stuff. And so like the artistic director of that church, he volunteered to show us screen printing. And I was like, oh, so this is how they make t-shirts and stuff. And this is like before all like the
mm,
photo motion, all that stuff. Like you
wow,
have to like physically use an X-Acto blade to cut the design out and
yeah,
everything.
wow, that's serious.
Yeah, like you're definitely not doing any halftones with that thing,
Yeah. Well, that's really cool. So you've properly learned from the old school way of doing it. So if he had like an X-Acto knife and stuff, was he just cutting the film and then pulling through the film, or was he using that to expose onto
No,
the
no
screen?
exposure.
No,
It
no
was
exposure at all. Just
it was kind of like well, maybe there was, because I think you're cutting like the top layer. It's and then like I think I don't remember exactly how it went, but I knew there was a cutting, and then there's a layer where if you cut too deep, you're cutting like the transfer.
oh right,
I
okay.
think I think you transfer that, and then whatever you cut kind of just stays there. Maybe like after you maybe uh like wet it or soak it somehow.
Yeah.
Maybe
It sounds like those emulsion sheets, but that's I don't know, rubelith or yeah, don't know.
I
Could be
started
any of
with those
those.
too.
Did you? Yeah.
Yeah,
What, the
because
emulsion sheets?
yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah.
wow. Yeah.
The capillary film.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when I first got my machine, that's kind of like part of the package that they had, you know, gave to use. And so for a while, that's what I was just using because that's the only thing I knew, Like I
Yeah.
knew about the liquid emulsion, but I'm like, well, that takes some skill to do that. So I'm like, I'm just gonna stick to the film. But then I started realizing like it's kind of there's a lot more variables to it actually.
Really? I thought it was
Well,
like to cut the variables out, like you just have this very consistent layer, but what kind of things does it throw up?
uh, it could be my consistency as well. But,
You're like, I wasn't
but
wetting the whole thing or something.
no, I mean sometimes it might be too wet or like for a long time actually, like I was like being too gentle with it. And then
Right.
like I learned from the manufacturer, I'm like, nah, you gotta press pretty good. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, even that wasn't like cutting it sometimes. Sometimes it doesn't stay on. Like, you know what I mean? Like I don't know what could it be. I could never like find the answer as to why it would do that. Like,
Yeah.
and so I'm like, you know what, let me just try liquid emulsion. And it took me some time and to kind of get the hang of like the consistency and the technique, like
Mm. Yeah, definitely.
so
And there's a lot more troubleshooting around for liquid emulsion over capillary film because it is still quite niche, isn't it? Cap film. And it's quite expensive, isn't it? Per sheet, I'm guessing.
yes, yeah. I honestly think though, and I don't know, maybe it's just the luck but I feel like liquid emulsion is a lot easier.
Yeah.
Other than like maybe a little messier, but like sure, like as long as you have like ways to wash it off with a wash booth, you're good.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So a lot of your work is actually quite detailed and half-toned, and I guess that you get quite a lot of photos and stuff. Am I right? Like, have you had to? That's what I've
Uh,
seen in your stuff.
well, I mean, that's like that's kind of like I want to say it's like maybe just a couple, and some of it is just stuff that I do for myself, like for my
Mm,
merch.
mm,
Sometimes when you start doing it and you realize how accessible it is to yourself, you're like, oh sure, I could just do it myself. I'm like,
yeah,
and then you just kind of get hooked on that technique and you just try to apply it on all the stuff.
yeah, that's true. So
But,
you've got your own Rocksteady shirts, haven't you? Like, how many like different designs have you made for your own merch, do you reckon?
oh, I have a lot of designs, but I haven't marketed all of them. I
Yeah,
haven't I haven't like kind of figured out how to do it because I know like having like a Shopify, I know it's like $30 to $40 a month, and
hmm,
I don't think I'm getting that much sale to kind of justify the purchase.
yeah, I understand.
But I do have like a work around it right now. I'm just using PayPal, like the buttons, the old school like copy
Yeah,
paste HTML, and but I'd like to, yeah, maybe when I get to it again,
that's such a
I'll
good idea, though. Just is so for telling customers who've got other websites how to get merch on their store, don't bother doing like a whole Shopify thing if it's just a one-off. Just do the
right,
PayPal button.
right. And that's another thing too, is because back then, like you couldn't have a cart, you know what I mean? Like you make one purchase, you buy that one. If you want to buy the same stuff on a different size, you gotta make another purchase,
Mm.
which is I don't know if they've had it all along and I just never knew, but I found out that there's a cart button there. You're like, oh shoot. Like they literally just put that there, and I was like,
Yeah,
okay.
that's awesome. So you could literally just make any website into like a payment cart now.
Right.
Is that okay?
I mean, a lot easier. I mean, of course, like PayPal will take some fees, but then, that's just standard. But that's like the takeaway from like the Shopify fee monthly.
Yeah, exactly. So how do you actually go about attracting customers? Do you do it just from your reputation, or like what kind of like advertising have you ever done that you found worked for your kind of business?
I think I think definitely Instagram played a part
Mm,
to it because
yeah.
a lot of the people that have met me or introduced me to them, they showed my work, and then I would just get, sometimes when I meet people, they just hit me up on Instagram, DM me, is like, hey, I was introduced to you, I was just wondering if you could do the shirts. We have a show, blah, 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 in 2 weeks, something like
Yeah.
that.
Or two
I was,
days. Some other
I'm
printer
like,
let me down, something like that.
I'm like, yeah, that does happen, and how it goes. Like, what do you do with that? You're like, oh man,
Yeah, exactly.
like,
So
do
how are you guiding them to sell shirts? Like how are you finding that musicians buy? Do you think are they quite good customers in terms of like understanding that they need merch on the day and they get a good order up front, or are you finding they're doing pre-sales, or like what type of kind of way are they ordering?
Uh, I think a lot of them are doing pre-sale, like how do I call it? Yeah, a pre-sale where it's like, oh, let me know, like they take payment up front, and then like so they know what size it is, and I already know ahead of time, and then I tell them, I just tell them like, hey, make sure it's like at least like my minimum, it meets my minimum, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like otherwise each shirt you're only gonna make $1 each,
Yeah.
like
What
because
what is your minimum for your kind of stuff?
2 dozen.
2 dozen. Shit, that's quite a lot. Like
Really?
for musicians, they're often so erratic. Like I've always found that they want like some display ones and they feel like they're going to sell out when they're actually there. I've just found them a little bit more difficult than that. But yeah, sometimes they're asking for like 10 or 5 or something. That's why I was like, are they
That's happened.
pre-ordering or yeah? Do
That's
you tend to
happened.
just do you tend to just do it for them, or do you go, no, you really need to come back when you've hit the minimum?
I do it for them, but I do tell them about like the adjustment on the price per shirt, just because,
Hmm.
you know, and I've always, speaking of, I've always wanted to make my own version of the video that you made, where it's like, oh, if somebody wants to order a shirt, show them this video, and then you did
Yeah,
that. You like you actually printed 4 shirts, and you're like the
show the whole
three I just
process.
get to keep. You're not getting that.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. You just throw the 3 away that they said they didn't want. I know you just get so done, like worn down by it, don't you? But I don't want to be like a little stress head on Instagram. But I thought that Instagram video needed to be made. You should do your
I know.
own. Do
I
your
need
own of
to,
anything.
I think I reposted it, but I think I didn't have that much following, but I think I should repost it again because people understand, Like
Yeah, they understand your pain. So could you tell me about like how you started to like invest in equipment and stuff for your business? Like what did you get that worked, or did you get anything that was just actually just a massive mess, or have you got the same stuff that you started with? Or
I have the same stuff I started with. I didn't find, like as they say, it's like don't try to fix something that's not broken, and it hasn't broken yet. So
yeah,
one thing that has broken is my my flash dryer. Like you can't be cooking, like literally cooking food, and try to like experiment stuff in the garage, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well,
And
are you cooking food in your dryer? You're not cooking food in your dryer.
no, I'm saying it's like I'm going
At the
back.
same
I'm going in and out of the house and into the garage,
time.
like
Yeah.
printing, and it's like, oh, I'm not that great of a like task management manager after all.
So how did
But
you break it? Did you burn something in there or?
well, all the electronics, all the timer stuff had broken, I had burnt, and like, so right now it's still going, but I don't, obviously the only thing that doesn't work there is the timer.
Oh, okay. That's not
Like,
too bad.
it's not
Yeah.
too bad. Yeah, it was, however, my neighbor came over. He's like, "Hey, there's smoke coming out of your garage." I'm like, "Oh,
Yeah, don't worry about that. Oh, I've had people walk past and go, "Oh, yours is the stinky shop," and I'm like, "It's not that bad." Like every so often we've got a little bit coming out, but I don't think it's that bad. It used to be like full on solvent ink smell, but like
oh yeah. Those are the worst."
yeah.
Like,
Do you ever print on like stuff that isn't t-shirts?
yeah, mostly it's just tote bags. I mean, it's kind of like the easy merch stuff. I have yet to do koozies.
Koozies,
Like,
yeah.
uh, you know, um, I've been intrigued, because I go to shows and they give you free koozies. I'm like, this is right. I'd
But
like,
you're
yeah,
not, yeah, you're not scared to print on polyester. I've seen you print on polyester and sport shirts and all sorts of things like that.
yeah. I just kind of, I mean, I've had some horror, like one horror story. It's not that horror because it's not that horrific, I'd say, just because I didn't have to like the realization is what's horrific, I guess.
I
It's
think you got
because
to tell us what it
one
is,
time
Nimrod.
yeah, well, what it was a swim team from one of the prestigious colleges here. There's a city like maybe a couple cities away called Claremont, and they're known for like having five colleges in one campus. And like, it's rich people, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
for them
yeah,
to be
yeah.
going there. And they needed somebody to print their water polo, like I guess gear or whatever, the swimsuits that they have.
Hmm.
And so they're like, "Oh, we'll provide you the swimsuits." I was like, "Okay." That I'm already in my head. I'm like, "Oh, you guys are providing it." I was like, "Okay, well, I don't follow like mainstream brands or anything like that. So at the time, I didn't know what Lululemon was."
Oh
And
shit. Lululemon is extreme. That's hundreds per suit, isn't it? I don't even want to
yeah,
know.
yeah, and so like I was kind of just like cocky, I guess, or didn't give myself room for error, it's like and then I didn't realize like one of the palettes or the platens that I was putting it on didn't have enough adhesive, and I wanted to double up a print. And of course, what happens when the registration doesn't match on the second pass? You get the blurry effect. And then I was like, oh man, I gotta comp this somehow. Yeah, I'm like looking online to see how much it is. I'm like, oh dang, dude, this one
Yeah.
thing costs more than what they're gonna pay me for the whole job.
Yeah. That's savage. So what is that even made out of? Is it like, are you talking like lycra or are they just
Probably
like,
children's blood or something, I don't know.
yeah, I know, to be that bloody expensive. Yeah. I used to take on all sorts of like crazy orders. Like I even took on swim caps once. That is specialist. Don't take on swim caps unless you've really done your research on your inks and stuff. It's hard.
Well, those are polyester or something, no? Nylon.
Oh, they're not even polyester. They're like, I think I've
Wait, is it
blocked it
even
from my mind.
breathable?
No, they're like the swim cap, like the one that you
Right.
stretch over.
The
It's
thing
not
that
polyester,
literally
is it?
looked like rubber, no?
Yeah. It probably is rubber, but I remember doing it and just trying to cure it with like what I had. So you can't heat it because it will just shrink. So you had to find an air drying elasticated ink. I did it, but then I also like felt sick from the fumes that I was using. So that's
Oh yeah.
but yeah, that's a really, really tough job. Don't do swim caps, Nimrod.
Thank you for that. I'll take that I'll take that advice.
Yeah. So do
Um,
you ever go to some of these gigs that the musicians have like actually like commissioned you for the shirts and you've gone to the gig?
I have gone to, well, I did one live screen printing
Oh,
for
cool.
like a grand opening for the said record store that I did it that I kind of contracted with. It was fun. It's kind of cool to see people's faces light up. Then they see it, because it's so surprising how so many people don't even know how shirts are printed. Like I
Yeah.
have a feeling like a lot of them think it just happens in a press of a button and then you get a shirt. Like it's not like your house printer, you know?
Yeah.
Like
Maybe so they've accidentally seen DTG and then just didn't see us.
yeah, yeah, you know, like not all of them are like DTG. I mean, I don't know. I feel like there's a big I don't want to say like elitism, is that the word?
Yeah,
Like
maybe.
with screen printers versus DTG printing.
Yeah. I discussed that recently with one of the DTG people, but they're saying that not all DTG is the same and it does come down to the operator and stuff like that. So I don't know. We just need to stick in our lane, I think. I don't think we're going to agree that it's the same.
Yeah, it's true. Because sometimes too, when that's one of the solutions I do is when the customer just needs one shirt and it's something complex, then I would go DTG route. I tell them that, and then I just commission uh like another shop to do it.
Yeah. Do you still take the work? Like, are you still responsible for the job and then you get a commission on it? Or do you just say they do it and then you just leave the customer to kind of do business with them separately? How do you figure
It,
that out?
it depends if I like the customer. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. If you still want to talk to them.
Right. No, it's sometimes I do, sometimes I do. Like if I have it in me to kind of make the delivery or give it to that person because you know but there are also times where I've given them the business and told them straight up to go to them, you know. It's like, hey, you know, these guys do a good job, and then just tell them I sent you, you know. That, you know, it depends on what I'm trying to work, I guess. Like if I'm
Yeah.
trying to work like the networking part of things, then I tell them like, yeah, you just go to them and tell them I sent you, you know.
Yeah. And hopefully that comes back as that DTG person then sends a screen print job to you, hopefully. Yeah, maybe that could work out
Exactly.
that way.
Yeah. But I've never like really checked or anything to find out if there's any ROI on that.
Yeah.
So
Uh,
I wouldn't
um,
know.
I wanted to ask you about your live screen printing. So, like, how did you set that up? Like, I've had a customer recently ask me for like 6 different designs, 6 different colors, and I've got to go there and print with 80 different people. I'm like, that is too many variables for me. But like, what did you bring with you to the shop to do your live printing with, and how many designs and colors did you figure is a good kind of like point to bring?
Oh, it was just one design. It's like
Yeah.
a two color on the back and then one color in the front. And then that's all I had. I had brought. Uh, and I made a mistake, and I also like related it to one of your videos because you're like, hey, make sure it's heated properly, because I remember you did a video where you used a heat gun to cure the ink.
God, did
And
I? Was it as an example of like
yeah,
weird things? Okay. Yeah.
like to make sure that it's heated enough, which, you know, that was kind of like horrific for me because I didn't even bring I didn't even bring my thermometer, which was the number one mistake. Uh
Hmm.
but I will never do that again without my flash dryer for sure.
Yeah. Would you ever do water-based printing on site? Because I feel like that's quite a good setup because then you could just heat press the shirts when they're like touch dry and stuff. That I would kind of trust a bit more, like having some like cold cure additive or something. But I was just thinking if you're going and doing live printing, bringing a proper heater, it can be a bit dangerous around all these newbies, can't it?
Right, like you got to have like a caution tape around your area.
Yeah.
Like, don't be trying to break in my area, fools.
So
Um
are you saying it did go well or it didn't go well, that printing event? in the
Well,
end?
printing event went well, but I couldn't guarantee that the ink stayed, like
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
maybe they were able to wear it the day of, and then like I don't know how well that stayed. Like I did hear some friends tell me like, hey, some of the ink kind of faded. I was like, crap, I knew it.
Yeah.
Like I should have listened to my gut, you
Yeah.
know.
But even for this live printing that we've got lined up, if the customer does want like 6 colors, 6 designs, I'm actually just going, should we just bring a heat press and some transfers? Because then you can have as many colors. You can even have all their bloody names written out if you want. Just chop them out, stick them on.
Right,
Surely
custom and
that,
then
yeah.
I think
Mm,
I think that would have been okay, but if you're really trying to highlight screen printing, then that's a different story.
yeah.
That would kind of prevent it because I mean for me, I think like for them seeing the actual process of screen printing is different, you know what I mean? Like if they wanted to go heat press, well, they could go to swap meets or whatever you want to call. I don't know if what you call them there, swap meets, yards, what are they called? Like flea markets
Oh yeah.
like that. Like they have those where, people just have stalls, like, and they even have it at the malls, like at the kiosk at the mall where they do it for you and you get to see how they do it. But I think
Yeah.
it's completely different story if you're trying to highlight like screen printing. And I think that's what makes it special, like when they see it. Like I said, I just love seeing people's like brains blown when they first see it for the first time, like the
Yeah.
actual process of it is like, whoa, this is crazy. I didn't think this is how it worked.
Yeah. I think you're right. Because yeah, the actual print might be more what they want, but you're never going to get that magic that you get with actually pulling the inks for yourself and stuff. Have you ever
Right.
do you let them hold the squeegee and pull it themselves, or are they just kind of near you when you're doing it?
Um, I haven't, but I thought about it, but at the same time, there were already like maths going on in my head. I'm thinking like, okay, well, do I tell them like, hey, this is your shirt. It's not on me if you don't like it. You know what I mean? Like, because
Yeah.
there is a technique to like pushing, or pulling, whatever method you prefer. So I mean, I haven't let people do it like my brother and his family came over and my niece were still kind of young. I let them try and I could already tell, like, okay, well, like they're yeah, I mean it's fun if you kind of have some. I guess I would let them if I had like some pellons to print on, like for them
Yeah.
to kind of put on, like sure.
Yeah.
I have a
It
personal
sounds like you're looking over them, sucking through your teeth anyway. So it sounds like
right,
you're
like
like, oh, no,
ooh,
stop touching my foot.
right. Like
Yeah,
cringe moments.
I know. I've actually got 2 of my staff coming in to print their own uniforms next week. I'm actually really looking forward to that. I think that'd be cool. Because if people are selling shirts that are screen printed, it's good for people to know the process and what goes into them, just in case someone
Right.
asks as well. If they're like, oh, what makes this shirt special? And they're like, oh, well, that's screen printed with this. And you've got a little bit of backstory. And then you can appreciate it. And then
Right.
hopefully no one will bring in a shirt that's washed off anymore.
Right. For
Uh,
sure.
yeah.
I think
Sorry.
process is important. I think the process is important. I think that's another thing too, is it's kind of easier to take pride in something that you're selling when you know what goes into it. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So you're talking about your graphic design and stuff. How do you start a design? Like, are you commission things and then how do you start? Are you doing sketching and then bring it onto the computer, or what's your kind of process?
Um, well, a lot of times customers have this idea already, and then they would have them on like paper just because that's the only resource they have is just having it drawn on like paper, and they scan it high res, and I would just pull it up on Photoshop if it's like a detailed with gradients, and just make the bit mapping process for the half tone or whatever.
Mm,
And if it's just like line art, then I would just open it up on Illustrator, then trace it. So
Yeah.
that's what I would. And if they commissioned me to start from scratch, where I would do the artwork myself, then that's a different story. Then I give them. I always give them like three like design studies for them to kind of choose from, and then give them three chances to make revisions to that study
Hmm.
or to that draft.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's cool. So do you draw basically I'm just trying to see how people draw things because I've been given this me and Em have been given this commission and I just can't get off the paper onto the computer in a good way. So I can draw things, but then I want to be able to draw directly onto the tablet and it makes sense. Whereas I'm
Uh-huh.
very much like fixing images in Illustrator or fixing things in Photoshop, but I can't actually like do all the line work and have my creation come about. I've kind of like not got that artist section you seem to have. You've
Oh
got like
well, no.
that.
I mean, I guess there's levels to it, right? I can't just say like I'm an artist or I'm not an artist, but because when I see other people's work, I'm like, dang, like you're literally just an artist. I was like,
Yeah.
like you're
Yeah.
you're like spot on kind of thing. I think what are you talking about like the are you talking about like the precision of the lines that you're drawing? Is that what you're talking about? Like,
I think so. It's just getting my own work up to a level that is considered good from like an artist perspective. Whereas
hmm.
I've spent like the last however long just fixing other designs or taking a designed artwork and then making it screen printable like a technician. But it's
Oh, I
probably
see.
just down to practice or something.
I see. So if it's like you drawing and the precision of lines, I would say like a tablet. I don't know if you use a tablet. Yeah, I would scan it and literally just use the image either as a background if I'm not doing the gradients from like if it's like a complex design like with gradients, then I would just uh edit that design itself unless there's some stuff that needs to be fixed on that design, then I
Yeah.
would. But then like yeah, like if it's like line art or like clean edges, then I would put that in Illustrator, and then I would use like the pen tool and just go at
Yeah.
it. But I do use a tablet here. I have a drawing tablet that of course the graphic one with like the no the display one where you could see like you're basically like the monitor on the
Mm.
tablet itself, because
Yeah.
so it makes it easier, like even I am kind of getting used to the feel because it still doesn't feel like paper.
Yeah.
But it
Apparently,
kind
you
of
can put
works.
sheets on. You can put sheets on the iPads to make it feel like paper. Have you seen that? You can make it
Really,
look.
like a vellum or something?
Yeah, I'm sure there's something like that for iPads. I saw it in the Apple Store the other day. Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't have an iPad. I just have this like a drawing tablet that I connect to my MacBook. So um
Hmm.
I mean, yeah, that's interesting. I'm gonna look into that. That always throws me off.
Yeah.
So I like the feeling of like the texture, feeling you know, the contact of the stylus to
I
that
know what you
make it.
mean. Yeah, because like I've got an Apple Pen and stuff for the iPad, and it's just like the biggest expense that I've never been able to master. Like I was trying to take like online workshops for it and stuff, and I just couldn't. My brain just couldn't make the stylus work how I wanted it to work. I feel like
Right.
it's just like other things where you just go push through the pain barrier, do all the workshops, and eventually it'll just click. But or like learning the guitar or something like that. But I don't know. It's maybe I'll just put some effort in and
Yeah, I think I
actually
think
get
it's
somewhere with it.
also yeah, I think it's a learning curve thing too. Yeah, for sure. There's a skill involved in like or like because there's so many ways to kind of problem solve that, especially with like these programs, right? Like there's so many ways you could knock out an image, or you know what I mean?
Mm.
Like with different tools too, you know, like there's just one more efficient way than the other, and finding that is always the key. So like for example, if you're trying to fix a gradient and you're just like manually doing it with a brush tool and you're like, oh, I can't get this right, it doesn't look as clean, then you could just kind of draw the shape and then like use the gradient tool and then it comes out cleaner, you know, stuff like
Yeah,
that. Like there's techniques, you know. So that's what I mean when sometimes you have to like edit some images. I guess that's what I would do. Is
yeah,
is you know, I think knowing what each tool does, you know, kind of helps you kind of like have options in how you should solve it anyway.
definitely.
But then again, that becomes like an expertise in itself, which, man, like especially with like all these like Adobe creative suites, like they're always coming out with new versions, and there's always going to be like new things to you know, like there's new features all the time that you're always constantly learning, and I think you have to be, you know.
Yeah. I just found one on Illustrator. Do you know like they've got Illustrator beta, like the one that they're kind of like testing out? Have you seen it? They've got it's you can download it on Creative Cloud if you've got one of their subscriptions, but
Right.
it's actually useful. Like there's so many useless things that like Midjourney. I find Midjourney completely useless, but there are actually Adobe things that are good. So they've got this thing where if a customer sent you a font that's been outlined already, it
Mhm.
auto detects what the font is, and you're like,
Oh,
what?
interesting.
Yeah, and it keeps the you know, the styling of it. So then you can just
Mhm.
select the font and retype it. So if they've sent you a poster for 2022, they can detect the font, especially if it's in the Adobe library, and then you can just go minus the 2, put the 3 on, then it's the
Oh,
updated photo. Instead, you're just on the internet scrolling through thousands of different fonts that look like the font that you. It's the best. That's really good. And have you
that's
tried Photoshop generative fill yet? Have you seen
I'm
that
sorry.
one?
Photoshop
It's
what? Oh,
generative
generative
fill.
fill. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I've seen it. I haven't tried it yet. I should have tried it the last project that I worked on, but it's a little bit more rushed, so I couldn't. Oh man, I've always been. I want to try it. I want to try it. I haven't used that feature yet.
Yeah, it's got some quirks. So I did it. There's a funny, like basically I've used it twice. One of them's like a photograph that was portrait and really tight. And
Mhm.
then I needed to make a landscape version, and you just select the 2 boxes next to it, and it just had like
Feels
this
like
whole
one.
graffiti scene, and it was perfect. Did
Uh-huh.
that. And then the other one, I tried to get rid of this person, and then it
Uh-huh.
filled in this freaky person generated from 4 or 5 other people around them.
Oh
So they
gosh.
had like glasses, like a cap, and then someone else's face put on. It was like freaky. But if you were just looking at the whole picture really quick, you wouldn't notice that it's like a weird freak AI person just made in the corner. It's quite funny.
Freaky as in like the features don't match type thing.
Yes.
Oh shoot.
Like literally got this guy's face, this guy's head, and the
Oh
colors
god.
of and someone else. And their feet are like backwards. Like one of their feet straight and the other one's like on backwards. It's quite funny.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
sure it'll get
trippy.
better.
I'm sure. I mean, wow. I mean, yeah, things are changing in like the design and the creative space, you know, because of AI. So
Mm,
we'll see. But they
yeah,
still need people to print stuff. So
yeah, exactly. But also AI still sucks at the moment, like compared to graphic design. Hopefully it doesn't get too quick.
yeah.
Nimrod, can I ask you what your unpopular opinion is in the screen print industry? Like, what do you hear loads of people say and you just flat out disagree with it, do you reckon?
I mean, nothing that I haven't heard anybody else talk to you in the
That's
other
okay.
episodes. But you know, like for sure, like oh DTG, you know, versus that's one, you know, where they always like say um and again, you had just told me about DTG person and said that it could be matched now, DTG depending on who the user is. Another thing too is I think like uh the competition aspect of like the printer, because like I think a lot of people see where it's like, oh, it's my customer, like, you know what I mean?
Mm.
Like uh they're kind of um guarded with who their customer is and what they're doing, like from one shop to another,
Mm.
especially when they're local or like within your driving proximity. But it's not even as competitive, really, like I know a lot of local printers within my area that I'm friends with, and it's like there's enough work for everybody to where you don't have to be a douche about like who or what you're doing, you know what I mean? Like
I do, yeah.
it's there's this sense of like, like you're not a lawyer, like we're not talking about like a law firm here where like, like there's enough
Sensitive
work.
information. It's just a
Yeah,
logo.
like there's enough work for everybody really, for so you don't have to worry about like, like, oh, that's a competitor shop, like no, it doesn't matter, like
Hmm.
we refer each other people. Sometimes like it would be great, my goal is to have enough work to where it's like, hey, I'm overbooked to, I want to send my work to other people, or at least like not necessarily give them the contact, but still get them the job, and they think I did it, whatever,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
vice versa.
Hmm.
Like it should be like that. It's more like I like the idea of like the whole, like a network of a community-based type of setup, as opposed to like, oh, I'm here for myself kind of thing, like,
Mm. Yeah.
I think that's one thing between, well, a lot of shops would think like, I think I've worked with some people like that where they think it's like, well, relax, dude. Like it's not like that at all.
That's a good point. I even had a company that used to farm out work to me. And then I did one of those boards where you put all the people that you've done work for, and I put like Vodafone.
Uh,
And I've done work for Vodafone independently of him. It's just like a big
uh,
telecoms kind of, I don't know if you've got it over there. And he's like, you can't put Vodafone. That's a customer that I do work with. I'm like, everyone does work for Vodafone. It's the whole town does work for Vodafone. You don't own that
right.
customer, but they do jobs with lots and lots of people. Also,
Yeah.
I don't give a shit. I'm going to put whoever I want on my board.
Right. And even then, shouldn't that person have talked to Vodafone instead of you? Like, you know what I mean? Like that's you guys' NDAs to worry about, not me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't think, yeah, it's crazy. But I do think that more community based stuff is needed. So I said this thing the other day on my Instagram, and I got quite a lot of kickback for it, where I said that we don't really need trade shows anymore because I just can't. The
I was
trade
waiting
shows
for that.
in the UK, I want to know what the American ones are like, but in the UK, they suck. Like there's nothing going on for us. Out of like 50 booths, there's one screen print booth, and then there's
Really?
20. Yeah, genuinely, there was one screen printer out of the whole bloody place. It's not screen printing anymore. It's just DTG and I don't know, embroidery and do you know that Inca toner stuff, white toner? It's like no one wants this.
Oh, so it's basically DTG, but then you have like the base coat, white option for the white base coat,
Oaky
basically.
toners. No, it's even worse than that. It's kind of like a photocopier, and you're supposed to use that on shirts. It's no one. I've never seen anyone actually run a shop with it. But anyway, so people are like, no,
Just
no, no, we love trade shows. But then you're seeing people like Andy from ShirtCon hosting their own kind of like events, and they get loads
Mhm.
of printers to come. And even Ryan from Ryanette has that Waterbased camp where he just invites
Mhm.
people to his place. I feel like that is much, much more effective and cost effective for the manufacturer as well, and more fun for us. So I can see trade shows dipping down into the old fashioned way of doing things. What have you
Um,
been to some, do you reckon?
I tried to go every year actually. I only skipped like maybe like 4 or 5 years until I came back again like last year or this
Hmm.
year. Uh, because we have it here every January. It's called ISS. I don't know
Yeah.
if you, yeah.
ISS
So
Long Beach. That one.
yes, the one in Long Beach is the one I go to. I make a day out. I make a day of it because it's fun. Like
Yeah.
I take, public transportation all the way from inland all the way to Long Beach, and that in itself is the fun part, I guess.
Yeah. Do you try
Um,
and see how many freebies you get on the whole way around?
oh yeah, that. You know, uh, yeah. I mean, that's the whole thing of it. But as far as like, I don't think it's like once you're in the business, you're in. Other than you're trying to change like your operation or adding some more stuff to your operation, then that's the only time I would say like it's it's useful for you as a shop or as a business, like
Mm.
because literally like what do I need to know that I didn't already know? You know what I mean? Uh like other inks, I'm like, okay, well, I mean, I get catalogs already,
Yeah.
like
But
oh.
would you take recommendation from a manufacturer at the trade show, or would you actually like take their word for it if you've done your research and looked into a bit of kit? Or would you rather ask another screen printer who's already using the kit and say, like, how are you finding that? Or would you do both?
I think it's both. I think both would be ideal just because those people that make this stuff don't know jack about like how it actually works when you actually use it. You know what I mean? Like it's like, yeah, I mean, I feel like it's the same for a lot of industries, right? Like where, like they might think this is easier. Like I said, like going back to the example of the capillary film, it's like those people that probably or sell the capillary films don't know extensively what it would take to make the capillary film work for a stencil making a screen, right?
Hmm.
Um, but then they probably would keep pushing that product even though it's not as cost effective or time efficient for the user, like they don't know.
Yeah,
So
that might be right. Yeah, I do get that. So the people who are selling it might not be able to actually operate it in real time, like in an actual studio environment. Is that what you're kind of
right,
saying?
right.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
yeah, it just gave me some better ideas on how to be partnered with them as a screen printer, like, especially if people like us who have like uh social media marketing uh channels where it's like, hey, give us some stuff for us to try out. We'll let you know how it works. You know what I mean?
Mm.
That's a good
Yeah,
idea.
no, but we definitely need the manufacturers, we need the suppliers. And then it's just like instead of having an old piece of kit in the corner of your warehouse that hasn't sold yet, even if it is secondhand, just put it in an active environment where people are using it.
Right.
And then, like, the deal could be like, as soon as that's sold, it needs to go, and we'll try and give you another one. I don't know if that works in a real time environment, but I feel that you can sell more when people can see it working for someone else and actually making that person money, as opposed to
Yeah,
like
that's a good
this prints
idea.
10,000 prints an hour. It's like, no, it doesn't. No one prints 10,000 prints an hour. Like,
No, yeah. That's kind of like I actually wanted to bring that up because that's what they told me my machine could do. It's like they said something about like 90 shirts per hour, and that's okay. That's kind of doable, like, but nobody wants to print that much. Like it depends too. Like they give you like they don't even put an asterisk to kind of tell you like what baseline it is. Like, okay, is this for like 5 colors or is this just for one? You know what I mean? Like they just it's very salesy where they just get you on the numbers and you're like, oh really? That's good.
yeah.
Yeah.
The worst ones are when they tell you how much money you can make um per day on that machine, because the variables in that is just crazy. Unless you're printing like black on white shirts with 3 people on the press, like loading, unloading, and I don't know what the other poor bastard's doing, like moving the ink around or something. But yeah, I do get what you mean by that.
They're not accounting for the fact that you're in LA County and real estate is expensive. So
yeah.
like, what is this for? People in the Midwest or what?
Yeah. So like how long have you actually been running Rocksteady as the business that it is now, do you reckon?
I want to say since either 2017 or 2018.
Yeah. So you got like
maybe.
a proper
Yeah. Like I've always just had like Nim Tibile graphic design, but I kind of wanted to not use my name in the business. So that's what I went towards.
Yeah. Is Rocksteady, is that a type of music like ska and all that type of thing?
Yeah.
It's a genre of music.
It's a genre, like it's kind of between like what reggae is and what ska is, before it went to that. They're like, oh, it can't be dancing all crazy, willy-nilly, like in amidst, in the middle of summer in Jamaica, the kids are gonna be sweating, so they kind of slowed things down.
It does sound like a really good shop name, because it's like if you take it out of the context of music, it sounds like someone that you'd trust, because it's like rock steady. It's like reliable. It's actually a really good shop name, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I thought of that, and honestly, that's kind of like I want to say I lucked out choosing that because a lot of people found me and from just the name. We talked about like I remember we chatted about I DM'd about Alton Ellis. I was like, he's basically like the Michael Jordan of like the genre. Like he's the godfather of Rocksteady, and like his daughter Chessie was starting like a legacy account for that, and they hit me up and found me because of my name. And so I was like, well, it's cool that they wanted to work with me in that sense. And so it's an honor, and at the same time I don't think it would have happened any other way if my name was completely different. And yeah, for sure.
That was an interesting one, because they asked, were they setting up that in the UK as well, and then you told them about me, and then I also got the same kind of job from them as well?
Well, yeah, because they asked me about, like initially it was just like I'm sure it was just about the graphic design at first and like the designing aspect of things, but then they realized that it's really for like merch and t-shirts to begin with. And then during that consultation I told them that it's going to cost a lot of money, like for me to like print them, and then you guys are going to be paying for shipping, especially if you guys are going to worry about the distribution and the fulfillment of things, which kind of gave, that's what actually gave me the idea of offering like the fulfillment and the services as well, where it's like, what, hey, if you want to sell this stuff, and just add me in like the email to where every time you get a sale, I get a notification, and then I'll print them for you, like worry about the packaging and ship it from here, and it doesn't matter where it is. But the thing is, the issue is that like I'm sure the most of the customers that they're gonna get is there in the UK. So it's like, well, might as well just like get it from there, because I'm sure people don't want to pay like a lot of money for them for me to just ship them like one shirt or something. In the end,
I feel really bad, because I didn't actually know him as a musician, and then they came in and I was like, oh my god. So as soon as they left, I had all these images and stuff, and I had to play the music, and it is amazing. Like you're like, oh wow, how have I not heard this? It's very cool to like listen to the same music about the musician that you were actually like printing for at the same time. That's really, really cool. I love doing that bit. But your thought about having this kind of partner in the US who's printing the same thing as you, is a really good idea, because like, for example, for us, if we wanted to sell our shirts in America, there's not much point in us actually printing them over here, shipping them over there to a fulfillment center, and then what? It would be much better to have like a similar size studio like you guys, printing the same kind of thing and distributing it yourself. So yeah. And then it could work the other way if you ever sold things in the UK more than you did the US. Yeah. It's an interesting thing to think about.
Right.
So are you offering
fulfillment? And that's kind of like, I thought about it. I haven't done it yet. I did talk to some people who are kind of starting their own like brand and all that stuff, but nothing has came of that yet. I do have everything that I need for that though. Like I have all like my vendors for the labels, and then I have like the whole sizing stickers and the t-shirt bags, the poly bags, all that stuff. Folder, I got all that going, but I haven't done it for like a company yet. So
yeah. There's one thing you just said there, labels. Are you gonna sew those on yourself?
Oh no, not the I was gonna say like printed labels, like the necktie labels. But I'm talking about like the tags, like the little tags with a tagging gun, like something that you hang just to give it like a little bit more value, I guess.
Yeah.
Value.
Yeah,
Stuff
make
like
it look
that.
more retail.
Right.
I did think that sewing on labels thing was something that I could achieve, but I don't think I can. I think I've just got to like sell on my sewing machine, or just give in and give it to a seamstress or a tailor or something. But it's absolutely horrendous. I can't sew a little label on. It's the most pathetic thing.
Again, I think again that's another like learning curve where it's like, is it gonna be, how do I justify like the time to take to learn this craft? Because it is a craft, like whether you're using one of those handheld like sewing things or like an actual machine, it's like, then again, like, do I have the space for this machine, or do I have time even to do this? Like, how do I quantify all this? That's the hard part.
I know, but now I'm getting a graveyard of all the kit that I made us buy, and then it's just staring at me because I'm too pathetic to use it.
Those are expensive paperweights, dude.
They're really expensive paperweights, and they're clogging up and they're getting dusty, and they're just staring at me. And then Em's staring at me not using them. It's horrendous. So are you seeing yourself move into like a different space in the future, or are you really happy with the size of your shop at the moment?
I am looking to see myself in a space. There's going to be some adjustments involved other than the financials, but I think the biggest is like, like with that comes a lot of responsibilities now, because like I like the fact that my hours are flexible because I don't have to have hours. Like I just do my own thing, and you know I don't know if this is an industry insider thing, but like I don't have a shop. I just work from home. Like I converted my carport into that, keep my overhead low, you know. And the thing is, like with that said, as far as like the walk-in, like having customers and stuff, I don't just let people come in, or like I don't want people to know where I live, kind of thing. Like that's the drawback of it. And like like it's up my space is operational enough for myself, but I don't think it's enough for people to be there and see what I do, or like kind of, what I mean? So yeah, I am looking into I am looking into getting another space, because that would be nice to have like an actual space where it's just work. However, like I said, I'm gonna have to have operation hours and opening, which is great too. Because with that said, it's like I could have my merch there. You know what I mean? Like when there are some there are some things I'm considering, like, like the positives and the negatives of things. But I think ultimately that's the goal is to kind of get my own space. But
Yeah.
as I mentioned, like real estate is just crazy here in LA County. So
Yeah, it's tricky though, isn't it? It's like people want to grow their business, but every time you do a bit of growth, you're sacrificing a little bit of your own personal freedom. So I was talking to Emma about that the other day. She was like, "You're literally telling me this in a coffee shop where we've just walked out of work because one of our friends opened a coffee shop and we are just having a drink." But it was like 10 a.m. in the morning. Everyone else has to be in their studio sweating it out because there's an order going out at 2 because they've got employees and they've got to keep the press running. And what if
yeah,
someone comes to the door at that point and all of that type of thing? Whereas I'm just like, I can take a call from in here and it doesn't sound too bad. Like,
right,
I don't
right,
know.
right.
Yeah, it's
When
a
we were
sacrifice, but
before we had this meeting, I was actually considering going to the coffee shop. Should I just go to the coffee shop or
yeah,
just it's all right.
yeah,
But yeah, I mean, it does come with freedoms because ultimately what I want to do is just focus on the design and the like the logistics and the admin area of things to where I could just be anywhere and do it.
yeah,
Uh I would like to, have some apprentice kind of learn and, I don't believe in an employment system because like I want that person to kind of have an ownership sense to the shop.
wow,
And I
yeah,
know how it is like to be the employee, like on that side of things, because I did
yeah,
work for a print shop before. Uh, it's it's hard to kind of take ownership when you're just an employee, but when you actually are a shareholder, that changes things. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So
How do you put that in? Do you literally? Because how is the business like structured at the moment? Are you just like a single self-employed person, or if you did want to bring someone in, would you have to give them 50% of the business or like a small percentage to start off with? Or how would you
50,
want
that's
that?
dreamy.
No, not 50, but would you literally give them shares in the business, or how would you
Yeah, yeah,
structure
yeah.
that, do you reckon?
I would have to say it's gonna have to be percentage based, and you know what I mean, like give them an incentive, and so how whatever the shop makes, whether it's it's a lot, like you get more. So you know what I mean. I think that's part of it is like uh where you would. It's kind of easy to see that like what you're getting based on what you
Mm,
put in, kind of thing. So it kind of gives them an incentive too, and I'm seeing that for myself. And yeah, it is me kind of projecting because I came from that, that thought process, like working 9 to 5, like making somebody else rich is like not cool.
yeah, but then like who's taking on all the risk and stuff? Like,
Right, exactly.
but could you just do that with bonuses? Just be like,
Yeah, yes, true. I think to each his own, really.
mm,
There is no right or wrong way. It's just I think I think for me that's the way I would like to go if I was
yeah,
to go about it, is just to give somebody a sense of ownership. And yeah, of course, like that's gonna be part of like con- uh the contract, where it's like, you know what, this is, there is a risk involved. Just know that.
mm,
But at the same time, it's like this is a pretty good portfolio for you. Like
yeah,
if this doesn't pan out, it's like, dude, you were here for so many years or whatever the case is, and you learned. If you wanted to start your own business, if you wanted to start your own screen printing shop, like you literally can. You learned from this place. You know what I
mm,
mean? Um,
yeah,
I think that's another thing too, is like uh the learning aspect of it, and it's kind of undervalued, like even if I was the one, even if I showed how to like print or whatever, or just learning how to run a small business is already a big,
yeah. It's really big.
big knowledge base, you know.
What do you reckon like the hardest thing was for you in terms of actually running it as a business? Do you find the financials difficult, or do you find marketing more hard, or what part do you struggle with, do you reckon?
I want to say the marketing because I'm an introvert.
Right.
You know, like for you to make a sale, you have to actually talk to people. And
Yeah.
that's kind of one of the things that I had to kind of break out of. Is you know, and then yeah, I mean, even that was a step that led to one other thing, you know, like because like I said, to begin with, I was a graphic designer, and even just sell the graphic design side of things is already like hard, but at least it kind of gave me like a step, uh like
Hmm.
a to get to that is when you're selling something that's tangible and you could do it by unit, which is like a shirt, which is
Yeah.
easier, I would
Hmm.
say. But then, you know, like the next step is selling something that's kind of arbitrary. How do you price this? You know, like how do you price design? How do you
Yeah.
price like, you know, brand strategy or brand identity? You know, like those are all like different. That's another level because it's like people don't, you know, if they could get away with not paying you for design, they're not going to pay you. People are like that.
That's true. I know that
Sorry to say.
100%. So, like, that is a really interesting thing to talk about. Like, you don't just do, like, on your website and stuff, it's not a typical screen print shop. It's actually, you can come to me for all of your branding. So,
Yes.
how, if somebody wanted to offer that, who is just a normal screen printer at the moment, how do you go about pricing things like that? Do you do it by the hour? Do you make a package and then price that, or what's
Yeah,
a
yeah.
good way that you found that works?
Uh, I would say I do it per package because I don't do per hour. I haven't done a per hour, and I don't think I ever have charged per hour. I
That's
never
good.
I don't believe it's like, you know, which, you know, good thing you brought that up and keep reminding me because I want to make a kind of like a reel, like a educational reel about like why you shouldn't charge per hour
Mm,
as a
yeah,
creative. Uh, you know, I think it has to be per package. The hard part with that is that it takes you a little longer to get back to the person uh about the pricing, but at the same time, because you know, like you want to close the deal is always you want to close as fast as you can, right?
mm,
Seal the deal right away. But if you don't have a set pricing, then you know, like that's what makes it hard. But then if you have a set pricing, you're kind of constraining yourself.
that's true.
Like you're kind of trapping yourself in this, you know, like because I don't, you know, like to me, I don't have a, I don't believe in price table. Like, you know, like I don't know. I just don't.
I
It's like,
Yeah, it makes sense because everyone's going to want different things. Like you've got, if you're offering a package, what does that include? Like business card design, a website. That's two huge variables
uh,
already. Like a website, that's not
yeah, for sure.
that could be a landing page or a 10-page catalog or whatever it could be. Yeah.
For sure. And the thing is like you can't categorize them into like, okay, well, they're startup and I'm an advocate for people starting up businesses. I'd rather have people businesses than, you know, uh than work for somebody, you know, suffer like
Mm.
me. I'm just kidding. No,
Good.
but
Absolutely.
well,
That's true,
no,
isn't
bust. But
it?
no, no, but you know, like I really I think it's just I think there's definitely I think just the like the pride you get for like making your own stuff and making your
Mm,
own money in a sense, you know,
mm.
I'm sure it's worth something, whether it's like monetary or like, you know, just something. I think it's worth a lot more than like, you know, doing your job be like okay for somebody.
Yeah.
but but yeah, I mean, I don't, yeah. uh, so I help them, I give them a discount, you know, like that's kind of like those are the things I think of. Like if you're a startup, I'll give you a break on the pricing. But then like if you're like a big company, then yeah, I could, you know, then I
Oh, on a
could,
zero.
yeah, put another zero on that, you know, like those are the ways that I kind of adjust my pricing,
Yeah, it's really hard to actually tell people about the value of their branding. But my brothers, for example, own a construction company and they haven't rebranded in maybe like 15 years. And originally I did it for them. I did their logo and they never did anything with it. They never did a website. They barely did business cards, like nothing. God knows how they've survived this long without a website. But they won't give any value to it. I'm like, just give a graphic designer 5K. That sounds like a lot, but it's not for this. Give them 5K, make them do your website instead of trying to do it yourself on Wix and it looks like a horror show. But they'll spend 5K really easily on a new, I don't know, weird laser for doing this one particular job, but they won't spend it on their own branding. I just don't know how to get it through to them the value of so.
Yeah, that's the hard part, right? Because like that's another thing too, is like when it comes to branding, it's like not every business needs this or that. And that's the first thing I ask them. It's like, why do you need a logo? Like if their answer is just because I'm a business and every business needs a logo, that's not good enough. Because I'm not gonna talk to you, waste my time with like my consultation if you don't even put a value on this. Because I have a customer where, like it's family member, but I've done like a logo and took my time and I'm really happy with it. But I feel like it's under utilized because there isn't like a sense of like this is a tool, you know what I mean? And this came, like this came at a zero price. So it's like I think part of it is the subconscious and the commitment aspect of things, and how to write that into your sales pitch, I don't know, but there is that sense where it's like if you didn't pay for this logo or if you got all your brand identity and your brand strategy for free or for nothing, then you're not going to follow it, you're not going to believe in it, or you know what I mean, like there's a commitment aspect to it that they're not going to be into, and like I said, it's based on experience. It's like it's a great logo, but this person isn't doing much, and it's also affecting how this person is running that business because again, like I said, that's what I think it's subconscious, they feel like there isn't a value to it because they didn't pay for it. So
that's crazy. Yeah, what I've started doing to a couple of people is if I want to do something for them for free because they are a friend or a family member, we still send them an invoice. And it sounds like a really horrible thing to do. You send them an invoice and you say the value of what it was, and then you say discount the whole amount. So then they've got they're like, oh shit, actually normally Chessie does charge for that. And it does sound a bit arsey, like, oh, you do that to a family member. But yes, because your family members work for money as well. And they need to know the value of what you've just given them for free.
Totally.
Yeah. I just think it's
I do that.
trick.
I do that in my invoices too. Like if I did a design, if I had to edit, whether it's like just one quick thing, one pixel of edit, like I still send them that even though it says zero, because like what I tell them is also I got to do this for tax purposes.
That's a good idea.
You know what I mean? Like it's like Uncle Sam wants to know where what I'm doing, so it's like I gotta let you know also.
Yeah. I wish ours was called Uncle Sam. That sounds actually relatively friendly. Ours is just like HMRC, the tax man. we don't have like a friendly nickname for someone who's going to.
You guys don't have a personified version of like who would that be?
I know what they look like because they've come to my mum's house when she had her hair audit, but yeah. But no, I've never actually had it myself. Hope they don't, because I don't know what the fuck is going on with my account, so I just completely leave it up to someone else now. Thank you so much, Nimrod. I really appreciate all your time and stuff.
Oh, thank you.
So people can follow you on Rocksteady Instagram. Are you on TikTok as well, or?
No.
Not
on TikTok. I figured Instagram is enough for whatever TikTok can offer.
Yeah,
Instagram as well. But that's another variable to kind of think about. So I don't know.
yeah, it went a bit weird TikTok recently, so I think we could just leave it there, or I haven't figured out how to get going again on it. But yeah, really appreciate your time. Thank you so much. Hope you have a nice day, and
You too,
yeah,
Chessie. Thank
have a
you.
good printing time. Thank you so much. See you in a
Okay.
bit.
Bye.